Good morning, Year 2, and welcome to Monday's English lesson. Today we are moving on to something a little bit different. We are still thinking about Eastleigh. So for our starter today, we're going to have a look at some pictures of Eastleigh, and I've written a sentence for each picture, and I'd like you to have a think about the nouns, that's the objects in the sentence, and the adjectives used to describe that object. So here's my first sentence. A fast red train comes speeding through the busy station. Can you pause the video there and have a look at that sentence? Which words do you think are nouns? And which words do you think are adjectives? Okay, shall we have a look? So we've got the brown nouns, if you remember. Train and station, those are the things in that sentence. The adjectives, we've got a fast and red to describe the train and busy to describe the station. A fast red train comes speeding through the busy station. So remember those, and let's have a go at the next one. This time we've got the huge, impressive shopping centre stands next to the busy, noisy road. So pause the video again and have a think which words are the nouns, the objects, and which words are the adjectives describing them. And let's have a look and see if you got the answer right. So that's a bit of a tricky noun there, shopping centre, and the other noun was road, and we had two adjectives describing each one. Huge, impressive shopping centre and busy, noisy road. Can you remember the name for two adjectives followed by a noun? What do we call that? Well done if you said noun phrase. We call these a noun phrase. Busy, noisy road, that's a noun phrase. And then our final picture. Some tricky words in this sentence. The Victorian terraced houses stand in a straight line. And there's a picture of some houses in Eastleigh. So Victorian means that they're old, that they were built in Victorian times, and terraced means that they're all joined together in a row. So the Victorian terraced houses stand in a straight line. Which words do you think are the nouns, the things or objects in that sentence, and which words are the adjectives? And let's see the last one's answers. Did you get them right? Victorian and terraced are adjectives. That was a tricky one. So is straight, and the nouns this time were houses and line. Well done if you got all of those, because that last one was very tricky. Now, you might recognise this poem. This is a different version of the poem that you read for guided reading a couple of weeks ago. The picture's different, but the words are exactly the same. And this poem is going to inspire us to write our own poems about the railway this week. So just to remind you, I'm going to read through it again. From a railway carriage. Faster than fairies, faster than witches, bridges and houses, hedges and ditches, and charging along like troops in a battle, all through the meadows, the horses and cattle. All of the sights of the hill and the plain fly as thick as driving rain. And ever again, in the wink of an eye, painted stations whistle by. Here is a child who clambers and scrambles, all by himself and gathering brambles. Here is a tramp who stands and gazes, and there is the green for stringing the daisies. Here is a cart run away in the road, lumping along with man and load. And here is a mill, and there is a river, each a glimpse and gone forever. So do you remember this poem was talking about what somebody quite a long time ago could see out of the window from a train carriage? We're going to have a think. What do you think you would see out of the window of a railway carriage from Eastleigh? And I would like you this week to work towards, at the end of the week, writing a poem about the railway in Eastleigh. And our audience this week is going to be children in Year 3, because they are doing some work at the moment on bridges and railways. So we're going to show them our lovely poems that we've written. And as you're writing, the purpose is going to be to make the reader feel interested and excited. You might think a bit more about that purpose. How would you want to make people feel about Eastleigh? And here is our roadmap. Now, if you're working at home, your parents probably haven't seen one of these road maps before. So just to remind you, this is our journey to being able to do that final part. And normally on the wall, that part is at the bottom. So we're starting up here with the question, what would you see from a railway carriage in Eastleigh? And we've got a picture of that poem from a railway carriage. And we are going to travel down the road, working on these things this week, so that by the end of the week we feel ready to write a poem. So let's have a look what's on our road. I can use interesting vocabulary, that's words or phrases, to describe what you can see in Eastleigh. It's our old favourite, we've done lots of work on this recently. I can use expanded noun phrases. We should be experts by now. I can include rhyming words for some of the lines of the poem. Now, we did some work on that last term. We found that quite tricky. But don't worry, you'll get a chance to practice again this week. And then there are 2 challenges. This one, I can write a poem which has the rhythm of a train moving. If we go back to this poem here, faster than fairies, faster than witches, bridges and houses, hedges and ditches. As you say that poem, it sounds a little bit like the noise of a train. So my challenge for you is, can you make your poem have that rhythm that sounds like a train moving along? That's pretty tricky. Do your best. This is another tricky one that we're going to talk about later in the week. I can include similes. Similes are saying something is like something else. It was soft like fur. It was warm like the sun. So we're going to have a look at putting some similes into our poems as a challenge. Today, however, we're going to start thinking about this one using the interesting vocabulary. So we're going to be sorting some vocabulary to describe what you might see in Eastleigh. So I took some pictures of things you might see if you were travelling by train along the railway in Eastleigh. You might look out and see the station. You might look out and see some quite busy roads there. You might look out and see the Swan Centre. Just as you come into Eastleigh, you go past the river. And as you're going through Eastleigh, you might see some of the houses on Southampton Road. So have a little look at those pictures. Maybe pause the video for a minute and have a think. What would you describe in those pictures? What words would you use? Okay, so I've had a little think too, and I'm going to show you some of the words I would use. So I've done a mixture of words to do these pictures. I've got bridges and quickly, traffic, noisy, busy, shops, huge, proudly, standing, gently, flowing, river, leafy, slowly, pretty, trees and moving. And today I'm going to sort those words into the different types. So let's get the pictures out of the way and let's move the words out of the way. And I'm going to show you what your worksheet will look like today if you are doing the main and the challenge activity. If you're doing the easy activity, that's coming in a minute. So here is the main and challenge activity. Your sheet has got 4 boxes on it. Nouns in Eastleigh, that's things. Adjectives, that's words to describe the nouns. Verbs, those are doing words, and on here they're going to end with ing, and adverbs that often end in ly. Now, before we sort the words, let's just remind ourselves a little bit more about those 4 types of words. So nouns. Nouns are used to name people, animals, things, places, or ideas. Here are some examples of nouns: butterfly, dice, ball, girl, and pirate. So nouns, those are the names of things. Adjectives are those words we use to describe nouns. Oh, delicious cake, sparkly diamond, beautiful flower. Delicious is an adjective to describe the cake. Sparkly and beautiful are adjectives too, they're those describing words. Verbs. Verbs are doing or action words, and they include to be and to have. Now, luckily today, you don't have to worry about those because that's quite tricky. Verbs are words like run, jump, and talk. Quite often, verbs have endings on them. So they might be runs, jumps, and talks. Or they might be in the past tense. They might be ran, jumped, and talked. Today, they're in a tense that has ing on the end. So today you'll see words like running, jumping, and talking, because those are in the present tense. Because when we're on our train, we're talking about what we can see right now. So we're keeping it in the present tense for this poem. And then finally, we've got adverbs. I know you said adjectives. And adverbs modify the verbs. So that means they tell you more about the verb. And I got muddled up with the names adverbs and adjectives because they sound very similar. So adjectives tell you about the noun, and adverbs tell you about the verb. And there's an easy way to remember that one because it's got the word verb in it. Adverb adds information about the verb. So here's some verbs: shouted and ate, but you can tell people how they did those things. She shouted loudly, he ate slowly. So now we've gone through those, have a little look at my table. Let's find a word. Let's start with bridges. Oh, I'm on pens, just like being in school. Where do you think bridges should go? Is it a noun, an adjective, a verb, or an adverb? Well done if you said noun. Bridges is a noun. That's annoying. I'm going to have to move it to the front. But let's just move that right to the back. Bear with me a minute. Now my words will go in front. There we go. Bridges. Bridges is a noun. It's a thing. You can see easily. So on your sheet, all of the words that are things, you can see easily go in that column. What about this lovely word here? Flowing. Which column do you think flowing should go in? Nouns, adjectives, verbs, or adverbs? Well done if you said verbs. Flowing is a verb. It's something that's happening and it ends with ing. What word should we do next? Let's do noisy, as that's near the top. Where do you think noisy should go? Noun, adjective, verb, or adverb? Well done if you said it's an adjective. It describes a noun. It doesn't go with this noun. We don't very often see noisy bridges, but noisy can be used to describe other nouns. Once you've sorted this whole table, you might see some that it could go in a sentence with. And then let's do quickly. Where do you think quickly should go? Well done if you said it's an adverb. It tells us how something might be happening. So I think the river could be flowing quickly. You don't have to make lines of words that make sense. You just need to sort all the nouns into this column, all the adjectives into this column, all the verbs into this column, and all the adverbs into this column. And you could cut and stick the words, or you can write them onto the sheet, or you can write them onto a piece of paper and just do the headings: nouns, adjectives, verbs, and adverbs. Don't forget to email it in. Now, at this point, if you are doing the Mail In Challenge activity, you can stop the video and have a go. If you are having a go at the easy activity, I'm going to explain that to you now. So your sheet has got those same pictures I used on the front, and you are going to be doing some reading today to match these important words to the pictures. So you might want to sound button the words to help you. So let's do the first one together. We've got k, R, S. Can you read that all together? K, R, S. Cars. Well done. So you need to have a look. Which picture has got cars in? Well, that's got one, but that would just be car, wouldn't it? That picture's got lots of cars. So you can either write the word underneath, or you can cut and stick your sheet too. Good luck.